Hey everybody, this week we're going to do something just a little bit new, a little bit different, and judging by your feedback, I'm going to decide if this is something that's going to stay around or if this is going to be a harebrained idea that's going to disappear pretty much as quickly as it came around. Some people gave me their feedback saying what they wanted to see were some videos showing solo gameplay for solo games. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a game that has a great reputation as being a fantastic solo game, Mage Knight the board game, and I'm going to show you how to play Mage Knight as a solo game. And then I'm going to show you some gameplay of Mage Knight as a solo game. And I don't know if I'm going to give you any thoughts at the end of it because Mage Knight is a great game whether you're playing solo or with a group. But again, this is a first time thing. This is the first time I've ever done a video like this. Your feedback is going to decide if this is something that's going to stay around or that this is basically going to be a fluke. I am going to make the assumption that you're either semi-familiar with Mage Knight the board game or you watched some other videos that show you exactly how Mage Knight the board game is played. I'm not going to take the time to go back over everything because it's not going to be the purpose of this video. This is purely for the person who's looking for a solo game, wants to know how Mage Knight plays as that solo game and decide if Mage Knight is a solo game that they want to check out and add to their collection. Because it's a fact there's a lot of players out there who enjoy playing board games solo. We'll see if this is something that may just interest you. To play Mage Knight the board game as a solo game, what you're going to do is you're going to set up the game with what's called the dummy player. Now the dummy player is not a requirement to play Mage Knight as a solo game. You can actually play the game without the solo, or you can play it solo without the dummy player quite easily. The only thing the dummy player really adds is it adds in a built-in timer that forces you not to rest on your laurels and try to get the perfect hand, because quite honestly in Mage Knight the board game, if you're playing the game solo and you're only controlling one Mage Knight, it's very easily possible to go through your hand, make sure you're going very slow, very methodical, and planning exactly which cards are coming in your hand, spending these cards at the perfect ability. Make sure you're spending them for the perfect amount of mana because you get 1 mana per round, and the game's not going to be over till you're out of cards in your D deck and in your hand, or I'm sorry, the round won't be over until that happens. So what the dummy player does is it forces you to start playing these cards quickly because the dummy player is going to control the tempo of the game. The dummy player goes through their entire D deck before you do. The dummy player actually announces the end of the round. And that's where the pressure comes from. That's why some people really enjoy playing Mage Knight as a solo game, because you can't really rest on your laurels. If you're not racing the dummy player will definitely be racing you, and you won't get all your cards played, which means you definitely will not be winning the game. The first thing you need to understand about the dummy player, though, before we go anywhere, is that the dummy player doesn't count as a player when we're doing setup. So that does mean since you're playing solo and you're one player, that means you're only going to have 3 dice for the mana reserves. Simple fact, you always get dice is equal to the amount of players plus 2. Since there's only one player and the dummy player doesn't count as a player, means you get 3 dice. That's also going to go the same for the unit offer. It's going to be the amount of players, and since the dummy player doesn't count as a player, it's going to be a total of 3 units in the unit offer, not 4, because that dummy player doesn't actually count as a player for the setup of the game or for the refresh after every single round. Once you've picked which Mage Knight you want to play for the game, the only thing you need to do is figure out which Mage Knight you want to be the dummy player, and you can either do it perfectly just by figuring out which one you want to pick, or you can go through, shuffle up all the remaining Mage Knights and pick one, flip it over, and decide that's going to be the Mage Knight you're going to control as the dummy player. And the only thing you'll need for the dummy player is the dummy player's main card. You'll need the dummy player's starting deck. You'll need the dummy player's skills, because those are possible skills you learn later. You'll need the order token, and you'll need to make sure you go through the spell deck, and you're going to have to remove the 4 spells that are made for player versus player play. And they're really easy to find because all the spell cards are numbered in the lower right hand corner in very small numbers. You're basically going to remove card number 17, 18, 19, and 20. They're going to be removed from the game. Make sure you don't shuffle them in. And that's all you really need to play the game with the dummy player. Now let me show you exactly how the dummy player plays. Every single Mage Knight on the bottom of their Mage Knight card has a bunch of colored circles. They're going to tell you exactly which color crystals that Mage Knight starts with when they're played as a dummy player only. Don't get confused. If you're playing in a normal game where you're controlling these Mage Knights, you're not going to start with those crystals. This is only for the dummy player only. So Arithia we see has 2 red dots and 1 white dot. So Arithia starts with 2 red mana, 1 white mana. Norawas has 2 white and 1 green, so 2 white crystals, 1 green crystal for mana. And Goldix has 2 green, 1 blue, so they're going to start with 2 green crystals and 1 blue crystal. And that's going to judge exactly how the dummy player is going to control the tempo of the game based on the crystals they have, and also based on their starting deck, which is also going to grow as the game goes. You as a solo player, you're going to take your turn perfectly normally like you normally would whenever you play Mage Knight the board game with multiple players, whether it's cooperative or a competitive game. And then after you've taken your turn, and when it finally comes down to the dummy player's turn, whether you're playing multiple players plus a dummy player or it's just you versus the dummy player, you're going to flip over 3 cards for the dummy player's turn. And you're basically trying to avoid having any card come up that matches a color crystal that is currently in the dummy player's inventory, because if that happens, their deck is going to cycle through much more quicker. So the first thing you need to do on the dummy player's turn is you just flip over 3 cards total, and you're going to make sure that the last card you flipped over doesn't match one of the colors of the crystals that they have in the inventory. If you do flip over a card and it happens to match the color of a crystal they currently have in the inventory, you're going to flip over an additional number of cards based on however many crystals they have in their inventory. So if my top card, my third card I flipped over happened to be blue, and I have 1 blue crystal in my inventory, I'm going to flip over 1 additional card in the discard pile. Whereas opposed if I flipped over a card that happened to be a green card was my final card, since I have 2 green crystals in my inventory, I'm going to flip over an additional 2 cards. Now here's the trick. Don't get confused that if you continue to flip over cards and match cards in the inventory that you're going to keep flipping cards over. You're just going to do it one time only. So even though after I flipped over the green card and I flip over 2 more cards because I have 2 crystals in my inventory, even though another green card did come up, I'm not going to flip 2 more cards on top of that. It's basically you flip 3 cards, you look for a matching color crystal. If you happen to get it, you're going to flip over an additional number of cards based on however many crystals you have in your inventory. Now here's the trick, and this is where it starts getting more difficult and much more challenging as the rounds start going by. When it comes time to refresh at the end of the round, where you refresh all the piles, things are going to be a little bit different than what you're used to when you play a normal game of Mage Knight. The first thing you're going to do is the bottom card in the advanced action offer, instead of it going to the bottom of the deck, it's actually going to be added to the D deck for the dummy player. And then you're going to advance the deck like you normally would, refresh it, draw a brand new card, just like you normally would refresh a normal round. The other tricky thing, though, is that you're going to look at the spell that's in the bottom of the spell offer, which is going to be the lowest spell in the spell offer, and you're going to look at the color of that spell. For example, this spell is the blue spell, green spell, red spell. You should be familiar with this if you watch my other video. But you're going to look at the color of the spell that's in the bottom of the spell offer. You're going to grab a crystal of that matching color, and you're going to add it to the inventory of the dummy player, and then you're going to simply add that spell to the bottom of the spell deck and refresh the offer like you normally would. Here's where the challenge comes in. As you're going to do this for the continuing rounds, you're going to find the bottom spell and you're going to keep adding these crystals to the dummy player, which is going to increase the speed that the dummy player is cycling through their deck, because you're going to have more crystals on the dummy player that are going to allow him to get extra draws, so you have to be very, very careful here. So if we've gone a couple rounds, as I've demonstrated here, we now have to look for any red cards, any blue cards, or any green cards, which are going to cycle the deck faster. So we're going to flip over 3 cards, and we got white. We'd be fine. We wouldn't have to flip over any more cards for the dummy player, and that'd be the end of the dummy player's turn. The dummy player's turn came back around again. They happen to flip over 3 cards. If we happen to get a card that happens to match a crystal we have in our inventory, we're going to have to flip an additional card over. So this is why you have to be very careful, and this is going to be part of the strategy with the dummy player. As a player playing the solo game, you want to make sure you're controlling what spell is in the bottom spell offer, because that's going to dictate exactly what color crystals the dummy player is going to be gathering every single day and night phase as the rounds recycle until the end of the game. And yes, this does mean by the end of the game there are going to be 8 crystals in the dummy player's inventory, which means they can potentially be cycling spells very, very quickly if you weren't smart enough to make sure that you were controlling exactly what spells were at the bottom of the offer. If somehow they ended up with 6 crystals of a single color and you happen to flip over that matching color, that's going to be an additional 6 cards you're going to have to flip over at the end of the dummy player's turn, and that's going to start advancing their rounds. They're cycling through the deck, and basically how quickly you have to be doing things much, much quicker. There are only 2 minor other changes that the dummy player is going to incur to the game when you're playing Mage Knight as a solo game versus the dummy player. The first thing that's going to happen is that every time you happen to level up, which is going to allow you to get extra skills from either the advanced draw and from your personal skill pile, you're also going to randomly take one of the skills from the dummy player and add that to the community skill draw pile, so you can start getting skills possibly from the other Mage Knight. The other thing that you have to be very careful of is that the dummy player is going to start eating up your tactic cards, because after you select whichever tactic card you want to play, you're going to randomly decide which tactic card that Mage Knight, the dummy Mage Knight, is going to control. Once that tactic card has been chosen by the dummy player, this tactic card is removed from the game, and you're not going to be able to select that tactic card on future rounds, so you have to plan very carefully. Not only that, the tactic card you also chose is also going to be removed from the game. So you're going to be slowly cycling through these tactic cards. They're going to be slowly removed from the game, and by the time you get to the third round, you're not going to have too many decisions on exactly which tactics you're going to be taking. So again, part of the strategy of playing versus the dummy player is using the word that properly fits will be control. You need to be controlling which color crystals the dummy player is getting, and you need to be controlling which tactic cards you're taking, because once the tactic card is taken by the player and by the dummy player, those tactic cards will never come up for the rest of that game. That's how the player board changes for the dummy player. Each individual Mage Knight also has one personal change that's done, and this is going to be the Mage Knight that the player themselves is playing when they're playing Mage Knight as a solo game versus the dummy player. And to simply do this, you're going to look at your skill card, and you notice that there's a skill at the bottom of your skill card that happens to be having a darker grayer shade. This is a skill that's more of a player versus player skill, and this is also a skill that you are going to remove from the game and you're not going to have access to. This does mean that you're only going to have 9 skills to go through and cycle through, but it also means that you know for a fact that this is not a skill you're going to draw, so you really don't have to worry about too much, because again, these are generally skills that are more geared towards playing versus other Mage Knights. And even though the Mage Knight dummy player does have a deck he goes through, does have crystals you're going to have to gather, and they do have tactics cards that are going to be removed from the game, the dummy player doesn't actually have a Mage Knight that they're traveling across the board. They're basically just a tempo controller. They're basically just going to control the speed of the game, and they're basically also the major thing. They're going to make sure that you're not resting on your laurels and optimizing which cards are coming into play, when they're coming into play, and being overly cautious, which can make Mage Knight the board game a lot easier. And that's also why they recommend when you're learning how to play Mage Knight, you play without the dummy player, because that's one little bit of pressure you have, but once you know the game, the dummy player can make the game very, very challenging. I got everything set up for the solo conquest scenario. I'm actually going to be playing Tovak, who is not my strong point when it comes to the Mage Knights. I'm going to be playing versus Goldix. Goldix will be the dummy player, and I have everything set up, everything laid out for a one-player game. Now remember, just a quick refresher, the dummy player doesn't count as a player when you're setting up the game, so I only have 3 dice in the offer. Only have 3 units. The reason why you see additional cards, we do have a monastery out at the beginning of the game. Everything else is set up. The only thing I need to do is go through, pick out which tactic card I want to use, which is going to be the Great Start tactic card. Get to draw 2 additional cards to my hand, and then we're going to randomly pick which tactic card the dummy player is going to take. This is going to be their tactic card. This tactic card is effectively removed from the game, because at the end of the day phase, this tactic card is going to disappear, so I can never draw it again. We're going to see that the order for the rounds is going to be 4, 5, so the dummy player actually gets to go first. We can go ahead and toss that tactic card now because it won't come out at all. So it looks like Goldix, the dummy player, will go first, and then I'll get to go second. And then we're going to go ahead and start the rounds. The first thing we need to do is start flipping over the cards for the dummy player and find out exactly how many cards are going to flip over, judging the tempo I'm going to start with at the beginning of the game. So starting with the Goldix player, we're going to flip over the first card. We're going to get white. Second card is going to be another white. And then the third card is going to be a red. The Goldix player currently has 2 green, 1 blue in their mana storage, their crystal stockpile, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't match the color of the top card, so we're only going to flip those 3 cards over. We're not going to have to worry about the Goldix player flipping over any additional cards. That's the end of the dummy player's turn. Now I can go ahead and take my official turn and figure out exactly what I'm going to do by looking at my cards. Fortunately, I'm going to start with 7 cards, which is going to be a very nice advantage for me thanks to the Great Start tactic card. So now I just need to go through my cards and figure out exactly what I want to do on my turn. I actually got a pretty good set of hand to start at the beginning with, just looking at the board that we got laid out and looking at my cards. This is going to be pretty much a pretty quick playthrough. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just play March for 2 movement. Going to play another March card for an additional 2 movement. And then I'm going to play a Stamina card for a final 2 movement, which is going to give me a total of 6 points of movement. It costs 2 points of movement to move into a grassland space. If we forget, the costs are right there. And then this hilly region is going to cost me 3 points to movement to move into. That's going to be a total of 5 points of movement spent. I still have 1 movement point left over, but I'm not going to bother with it because I'm going to go from here and go immediately into combat, and I'm going to go ahead and start a combat with these ironclads. But before I'm going to do that, I'm going to play mana draw, which is allowing me to play an additional die from the source this turn. And this is going to be a pretty quick, pretty brutal fight because I also happen to get lucky with some really good starting combat cards. So remember, combat, if you watch the other videos or if you're familiar and just looking for a refresher, combat is range attacks. Then the mob gets to attack us. And if we don't block, it's going to do damage to us. Then we get to retaliate and do damage back. So the first thing we need to do is do range attacks. If this creature does not have fortified, which it doesn't, but unfortunately this creature does have physical resistance. But luckily I got some good cards, and I'm going to take them out very, very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and take one of the gold mana, and I'm going to use this as white mana from the source to go ahead and play Swiftness for its more powerful ability, which is a range attack of 3. And then since I play mana draw, I can take an additional mana die from the source, which is going to be an additional white mana, and I'm going to play it for my additional Swiftness card for its more powerful ability, which is going to be a range attack of 3. 2 range attacks of 3 is going to be a total range attack of 6. Since we're fighting a creature that is physically resistant, all my physical attacks are going to be halved. So instead of doing 6 points of range damage, I'm only doing 3 points of range damage. Unfortunately for this ironclad, it only has 3 hit points, 3 armor, whatever term you like to use. Either way, this ironclad is easily defeated through my card play. I actually still have 1 card left over, and I get to level up because I'm going to gain 4 fame, which is going to move me from 0 to 4 fame. And I'm going to start off the very first turn of the very first round, not only defeating a creature, gaining 1 step on the reputation track, I'm also leveling up, and I still actually have a card left in my hand without taking any wounds at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is re-roll the mana dice, return them to the source. We're going to get white and red. Don't have to worry about any black mana early in the game, so this is a good thing, especially with this few dice in the source. Get a look at all the advanced skills and advanced action offer. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Ice Bolt. It's always nice to get some range attacks, especially when it's a mana that isn't too hard to get a hold of. Remember, that goes to the top of our draw deck. Then you simply refresh the advanced action offer. Next thing I need to do is draw 2 cards, and 2 skills, and figure out exactly which skill I'm going to take. And remember, if you ever forget, they're listed on this little cheat sheet that tells you exactly what these skills do. Double-sided, just need to read it, figure out which skills I want to learn. Both the abilities I flipped over are actually pretty darn good ones. It's going to be hard to decide exactly what we want. The nice thing about both these abilities is they're each usable once per turn, not once per round, so I can keep using them over and over and over, continuously getting the benefit from them, which is a nice bonus. So that's going to make the decision a little bit harder. Plus we have one that's going to give us +2 either regular attack or ice attack. We get to decide. Or we have one that can give us +1 range attack during the day or +2 range attack during the night. Now we need to figure out exactly what we're going to be doing by the time the night phase comes around. I'm thinking of starting to move either towards here or exploring, and that should take us into the night phase where I could use this +2. But remember, we're playing a game or a scenario that does have 3 day rounds. That means this +2 is going to help us every single one of those rounds versus this one, which is only going to help us half as much during the day. And we don't even know if we want to use range attacks. We haven't decided exactly which advanced actions and which abilities we want to start working towards. So using all that logic in a very long-winded way, I'm going to go ahead and set aside the range attack. And I know there's some people who are really skilled at playing Tovaker and tell me I just made the worst decision. But like I admitted in the beginning, Tovak isn't my first choice when it comes to the Mage Knight, so maybe I'm not picking the best skill, but logically, I'm picking this one, because so far, I'm thinking I'm going to like it, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with it. The only thing left to do is to draw my hand back up to a total of 5 cards, and since I had 1 left in my hand, that means I'm only going to draw 4 more cards. That's going to be my new hand for the next round, and since I'm ending my turn on a crystal mine, it happens to be a blue crystal mine, I go ahead and grab a blue crystal, which I get to add to my inventory immediately. That's going to end the turn for Tovak. We now go to the dummy player, who's going to start their turn just by flipping over 1, 2, 3 cards, and the third card we're going to flip over is a blue card. We do have 1 blue crystal in our inventory, so that means we're going to flip over 1 additional card. That's going to be the end of the dummy player's turn. We now get to move back to our turn and figure out exactly what we're going to do with our hand of cards and see if there's anything we can do to be very advantageous to us right now. The first thing we're going to do on our turn is we're going to go ahead and play Concentration, which is going to allow us to gain 1 blue crystal or 1 blue mana token that we're going to get till the end of the round. So that's going to give us 1 blue mana token that we can put in our inventory. And then we're going to play a second card. We're going to go ahead and play Crystallize, which allows us to gain a mana of a specific color. And we're going to go ahead and gain the specific color, which is going to be blue. And I'm sure you can already see exactly what my plan is going to be for this round. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and discard 2 cards sideways. We're going to play them for their movement. Probably not the best thing to do with these cards because I know we're going to be going combating pretty soon, but we still got some cards to go through, and so far things are looking okay, and I still have my Ice Bolt card, so I'm not too worried about it. 2 points of movement sideways. I'm going to go ahead and head into these ruins. All I have to do is discard 3 total crystals to gain the benefit of this ruins, which I'm going to happily do, which is going to give me 7 fame, which is going to help me level up even more at the end of this round. And that's going to be the end of my turn. All we need to do is reveal exactly who lives in this Mage Tower right here. We're going to go from 4 all the way up to 11 fame, which is going to be a very nice level up. So we now, if we can get to that point, can control 2 units if we can start hiring some of these units, which is something we're definitely going to want to start doing because it's going to help us out later on in the game. We'll go ahead and discard the cards we already played. We have 1 card left in our hand. We are going to keep that card. We're going to draw back up to a total of 5 cards in our hand. And that's going to end our turn. It's now time for the dummy player to go ahead and take their action. Before I forget though, I do need to remember to re-roll this mana die because I did use this on a prior turn, which means I need to re-roll it and figure out exactly which kind of mana is going to be available in the source on my next turn. So the dummy player again needs to flip over 3 cards. There's our first, second, third card we're going to flip over. The top card we flipped over is white. We don't have any white crystals in our inventory. That's all the cards that the dummy player is going to flip over. That ends the dummy player's turn. It's now back to our turn, and we need to figure out exactly what we're going to do with our current situation and look in our hand of cards. And it looks like we're going to be a little bit aggressive, and we're going to go ahead and assault this keep. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and play the stamina card, which is going to give us a total of 2 points of movement. We're going to move into this Wizard's Tower. We're going to lay siege to this Wizard's Tower, which means we're going to lose 1 point on the reputation track. But we're not too worried about it because we're still at 0 bonus. No penalty, no bonus, so that's A-okay with us right for now. So now that we're in battle, the first thing we need to do is we need to look at them, figure out any special abilities it has. This is an illusionist, so if we can't defeat him with siege attacks, remember all creatures in Mage Towers and all creatures in keeps are fortified. Unless they already have the fortified ability, then they're completely immune to siege attacks. But since doesn't have the fortified ability, I can use siege attacks on him, but unfortunately I don't have any, so we're going to bypass the range attacks. And we're going to find out exactly which kind of creature he's going to summon to go ahead and defeat him. And we're going to run into a Minotaur, which is probably one of the worst things we can run into this early in the game, because they're brutal, they hit really, really hard, and if you don't block them, you're going to be knocked unconscious. So the first thing we need to do is we need to stop this Minotaur's attacks, and he's going to do 5 points of damage, so I need at least a block of 5. Otherwise, I'm going to be in a world of hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and play my Cold Toughness card, which is my special card that's unique to Tovak, his special card, and I'm going to spend the gold mana to power it, which is going to give me a total of 5 cold defense, which is enough to stop the damage that this Minotaur could possibly do. And if you read the card, it's actually more block than that, but I only need 5. It's actually technically 6 because he has a special ability which triggers the rest of the card, but that's kind of irrelevant. We're trying to get through this quickly here for you. So that's giving me a total of 5 block, which means this creature is not going to do any damage to me, so I'm going to be pretty safe, and I've removed a Minotaur from the game for now, which also makes me happy because Minotaurs can be pretty brutal this early in the game. Now, since I managed to block the creature, I'm not taking any damage. Now it's my turn to go ahead and try to defeat this creature, who happens to have physical resistance, which is going to make him a little bit of a challenge, except for the fact that I have 2 ice attack, which I'm going to go ahead and use right now. And then I'm going to go ahead and play improvisation. Discard a card, which is going to give me a total of 3 physical regular attack. And since I'm fighting a creature that's resistant to physical, that's going to be halved, rounded down for 1 physical damage, 2 ice damage, which is a total of 3 points of damage, which is enough to defeat this illusionist. I've now conquered this keep. I now own this keep, and I now get all the benefits of owning this keep. And I'm looking at leveling up one more time. So to process my level up, I'm going to gain 4 fame, which is going to move from 11 all the way up to 15, which is going to be another level up for me, which makes me very, very happy. You get to go ahead and pick through these and figure out which advanced action I'm going to take. And then I'm also going to figure out exactly which new skill I'm going to gain. And remember, if you ever forget what the skills do, you just have to simply check out your skill card that tells you exactly what these new abilities do for your Mage Knight. Before we forget, we're going to go ahead and return the mana die to the source, and this is not good. We've already lost 1 die to the source. Luckily, we're getting close to the end of the round because I've been burning the cards a lot faster than the dummy player has been doing, which is good for me at least. Go ahead and discard the cards that we used up this turn, and then let's go ahead and figure out what we're going to do for our level up. We're going to go ahead and take this skill right here because it allows us to break the armor of any creature we're fighting, which is going to make them easier to defeat. We're going to add 1 skill to the offer for the level up from Goldix, and I actually forgot to do that at the beginning of the game, or when I did my prior level up, so there's actually 2 skills added in the offer from the Goldix player. Remember, every time you level up, the dummy player is going to add 1 of their skills to the skill offer also, so I forgot to do that. I apologize. So we now have a total of 4 skills in the community pile skill offer. Then I need to figure out which advanced action card I'm going to take. I'm going to take Magic Talent, which is a fantastic card to have. And remember, it goes to the top of our D deck, so that means that card's going to be coming in our hand very, very quickly, which is very nice. That's going to end our leveling up. That's going to end our turn. Now we just got to simply figure out exactly what the Goldix dummy player is going to do and see how far he's going to advance his hand. Flip over 3 cards and see exactly what we're going to get. And we're going to draw a blue card, which is our top one. We do have a blue crystal. We're going to flip over 1 additional card. That ends the dummy player's turn. They only have 2 cards left in their hand. It's also all we have left in our hand and our draw pile. We pretty much only have 4 cards left in our hand, so looks like we're going to end the turn, and we're actually controlling the tempo of the game, so things are looking very, very good for us. Let's go and process our last final turn. Now we have 2 options of what we can do on this turn if we want. We can either go full board and attack and take out those orcs because we actually have some pretty good combat cards and we shouldn't have any problem taking out those orcs at all, which would give us some more experience. It won't give us a level up, but it's definitely going to clear out some more things, give us some more fame, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The other option we can do is we do happen to have some cards that are give us some influence. We can try to hire some people, which may be a good thing to do right now for the simple fact that we do have the ability to lead some units right now, and we also have a really good unit in the unit offer if and only if we can afford to add them with the cards we happen to have left in our hand. Looking at our hand, looking at the units in the unit source, and looking at what level we're at, we're going to go ahead and do some hiring, especially since it seems like the mana source, the cards in our hand, everything just seems to be playing in our favor, so we're going to go ahead and abuse it, take advantage of it, and get more powerful, which is the objective of the game anyways. So we're going to go ahead and play Promise, but we're going to power it with 1 die for the mana source for a total of 4 influence. We'll play Rage Sideways for 1 point influence, puts us at 5. Play Magic Talent, which is such a shame because it's a fantastic card. We could use it to get spells, but unfortunately we didn't have the right mana to do so, so we couldn't have done it anyways. It's going to be a total of 6. And then we're going to finally play our Ice Bolt Sideways for a total of 3 influence from Sideways cards, plus the influence card we're playing. A total of 7 influence. We're going to go ahead and hire these Guardian Golems. They're now part of our force. They're a very powerful card. They have physical resistance, which makes them quite awesome to add to your retinue. And anyways, we couldn't have hired these guys if we wanted to because they can only be hired at monasteries, so we had no choice but to hire the Guardian Golems. But we're okay with that because, like I said, they are a fantastic unit to have during the game. That will allow us to refresh the mana source. We're going to go ahead and discard all of our cards. And we'll make sure we do it to our discard pile. We're going to go back over to the dummy player. We would flip through the cards. No card matching. We're perfectly fine. It would come back to us. We have no cards or indeed no cards in hand. We have to immediately announce the end of the round. And since the dummy player doesn't have any cards left in her hand either, that's the entire round for both of our players. That's a full round of Mage Knight, the board game, using the dummy player. There's only 2 quick things to show you that are different from the normal game. And I showed you that in the tutorial. The first thing you do is you can add the bottom card. Instead of putting it on the bottom of the discard pile, it's going to go into the dummy player's deck. The dummy player is also going to gain a crystal based on the color of the spell and the spell offer, so that would be a blue crystal going to the dummy player's area right there. This tactic card that we use is going to be discarded. It's gone. The tactic card of the dummy player is also gone. We now need to pull out the tactic cards for the night phase, flip everything over, do all the resets like we normally would, refresh both of these offers, refresh the unit offer, and since there's still an unburned monastery out, we're definitely going to refresh the skill offered for the monastery, and then we're just going to continue playing the game like we normally would. That's basically how Mage Knight, the board game, is played solo with the dummy player. We're going to take a few moments just to discuss what I think about Mage Knight, the board game, played solo versus dummy player. I love the game played this way. It's probably one of my favorite solo games out there on the market, especially out of all the board games I have. It's a lot of fun to play as a solo game. As you can see, it can be pretty darn challenging. The dummy player does keep you on your toes and force you to consistently make sure that you're playing your cards as efficiently as you can, because the dummy player is going to keep selecting through their cards whether you like it or not, and you can't sit back, rest on your laurels, and wait for the good cards to come in your hand. I was actually pretty fortunate. I had some really good card play, had some really good layout, and things working really in my favor, but things don't always work that way, and that's where the planning and some experience with Mage Knight does come in handy. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial of how to play Mage Knight solo using the dummy player and showing you how you can enjoy Mage Knight, the board game, as a solo game. Again, like I said earlier, this is basically a trial for me, seeing if people like this kind of video showing solo gameplay. If there's a really positive reaction to us and I get a lot of positive feedback about this, I'll do some more of these videos for some other games I own that do offer solo gameplay. Of course, if this doesn't prove to be too popular, well, it was worth a try trying it once just to see what everybody thinks. This has been another off-the-shelf board game review looking at Mage Knight, the board game, as a solo game. Thanks for watching, and of course, please leave feedback down below because that'll let me know if you want to see more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.